So if price goes up like this, then you expect demand to reduce, because we said the higher the price, the lower the demand. So which means the demand curve will always be, take for instance, let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At price of 2, if the quantity demanded is 4, then we plot this x here. Whereas if we increase price to 3, or let's say to 4, if the price goes up to 4, we expect the demand to reduce. So the demand will be less than 4, and let's say it's around 2.5 here. And if the price goes to above, so you eventually see that demand curve will always be like this. Because as the price is going up, demand must be coming down. So from here, so it means that the lowest price is the highest point of your demand. From here forward, anytime you try to increase the price upward, the demand must come down. So from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 as the price goes up. So this is your popular demand curve. It's always negative sloping, and that's another way the question can ask you. It's called negative sloping because in mathematics, when you calculate the slope of this kind of graph, it will give you a negative figure, right? But I'm not going into mathematics now. Let's quickly talk about supply. Yeah, supply is just the quantity of goods that suppliers are willing to produce in a given period. Yeah, so it's about what is available in the market to be purchased. Remember, demand is what people, customers or clients wants to buy, but supply is the opposite. What the manufacturers, what the suppliers are willing to make available. So the same way we talk about the factors for demand, or summarize factors for supply. And the first one is always price as well. Price is very important. It's critical. And what you need to know about this is that the higher the market price of product, the more a supplier wants to produce because it's going to make more money. So here is different from demand. For this one, the higher the price, with higher price, there is higher supply. Because the supplier will want to maximize his profit as much as possible. So if I'm selling a car for $2 million and I'm getting information that my customers will be happy and they will still be willing to buy that car at $3 million. Why not? The price has gone to $3 million. I'm excited, then I want to produce as much as possible until I maximize the whole of my capacity. So the higher the price, the higher the supply. Right. Cost is now very important because cost is the input for a supplier. If the cost is too high, a supplier will not be happy to produce because he must cover his cost for him to make profit. He's in business to make profit, right? So it's important that a supplier knows that his cost is managed and minimal enough to produce profit. So higher costs will lead to lower supply. Yeah. And likewise, time is very important. Time is very important. Sometimes the price of the product has gone up. However, will supplier have enough time to be able to respond to that increase in price in the market? Take for instance, if it's going to take product A, let's say you have product A, you have product B. The time to produce this product matters. Let's say you can produce product A in 2 minutes, but product B requires 10 days. If the price of these two products decides to go up, the normal response you expect is that supply should also go up, right? However, yes, supply might be difficult to go up for this one because it takes a longer time to produce. For this, supply can go because it only takes 2 minutes, so we can just start producing more and more and more into the market. But for a product that's going to take 10 days, it is difficult. So we might not be able to respond immediately because of the duration it requires. Another thing that can affect your supply is technology. Yeah, technology increases supply. So the better your technology, the more you're able to produce. So technology will increase supply. And think about it. If you require people to move a product from one place to another, you need to hire people. You need to hire as many people as you need. However, if you have robots who does not get tired, who can work 24 hours, you get more output than using humans. Because humans will get tired immediately, they want to take break, they are sick, they are taking leave, and probably even more expensive for you because you need to get back up. Some people are not willing to work, they are just lazy, or they just want to collect salary. But robot does not have emotion. It keeps working and doesn't get tired, and you keep making much more product than ever. So technology very important. So you see that you have 4 factors as well that you need to take note, and that is PCTT. That's your price, the cost, the time to produce, and technology. And that's for supply. Now, quickly, there's a point where quantity demanded by your customer is the same as the quantity a supplier is willing to produce. And that point is called your equilibrium price. So quantity demanded is equals to quantity supplied. Any price at which these things happen, that price is called equilibrium price, because there is equilibrium. And what is equilibrium? Equilibrium is a point where there is a balance. So if you have this fulcrum, when we're young, we used to play this. We put maybe, we call it fulcrum, or you can call it a platform. Then you put a plank on top of it. A child can sit on this side, and that child can sit on this side. Then this continues to come down and going up depending on who is bigger among these two kids, right? But at the point when it levels up like this is equilibrium, because the weight on this side is equal to the weight on this side. The same, and that is called equilibrium. And that's what we're talking about here as well. When what we have demanded is the same thing as what we have supplied in the market, you have an equilibrium, and the price at which that happens is called equilibrium price. And this is very important for you to know. Because at equilibrium price there is no excess supply, there is no excess demand. The market is cleared out. And if you look at supply graph, we always have price on y-axis and quantity here. Remember, we said for supply, the law of supply is that the higher the price, the higher the supply. So which means that when price is going up, so quantity supply will also be going up. In that case, supply will be like this. So this is your supply curve. And remember what I told you, for demand is always like this. So this is your demand curve. And this is a point, this is a quantity, equilibrium quantity. Because at this point, the quantity supply is EQ here, and the quantity demand is also here. And the price at which that happens is called your equilibrium price. So that is about demand and supply. And it's also good for me to touch on when demand curve can shift. I want to quickly explain this. Remember I said for demand curve is always negative sloping like this. And when I explained it, I was moving along the curve. when I said price is low and quantity demand is very high. You increase the price to 2, what happens to quantity demand? It reduces to 9. You increase the price to 3, quantity also reduces to 8. So in this case, I'm moving along the curve, and that is not shifting. Please don't get it confused. That is not shifting. However, what will we call shifting? Shifting is when you have this curve, instead of showing like this, it decides to shift in its entirety to come to this place or to go to this place. So you can see it can come like this or it can go like that. That is shifting. And that is not the same thing as moving along the curve. Right. So you need to make sure you don't get out confused. It's very important. Yeah. A change in price for whatever reason will cause a movement along the demand curve. Yeah. That is what I've done earlier, moving along the curve. That is because I'm changing the price. So I'm moving along the curve. Yeah. However, other factors can lead to movement of the entire curve. Right? So a taste, for example, can shift the whole of the demand. Yeah, and you have an entire different curve. Yeah, very important. Because when you have a change in taste, that reduces consumers' demand. Obviously, what do you expect demand? How do you expect demand to shift? Will it go this way or this way? For example, change in taste. So if your taste has changed and you feel like you are not going to be buying that product again, obviously you're going to have a different curve. And it means that the demand for this product that we're talking about, let's say this is product G, even at the same price, this price 1, this is price, this is quantity. If my taste has changed, even at this same price, because my taste has changed, the price does not need to change for me to reduce my quantity demanded. In that case, I'm going to have a different demand curve. And you can see if at price 1, the quantity demand is now like 8. So this is a shift in demand curve, because anything that is causing your demand to change and that is not price will lead to change in demand curve. So go to the factors affecting demand. These 3 factors: price, cost, notice supply. Yeah, price, income, price of substitute, and taste. Only price will make you move along the demand curve. Income, price of substitute, and taste, all of them can lead to a shift in demand curve. Please take notes, and like I said, don't confuse moving along the demand curve with shifting of demand curve. If the taste is the other way around, maybe your taste has increased and you think you're going to even buy more of that product, then it means that at price 1, your demand curve has changed. And that is why the quantity might go to like 15. Depending on how those factors we spoke about is affecting demand, will affect how the curve will shift. Now let me talk about elasticity quickly. Price elasticity. A very interesting concept, which is very easy. Just need to understand what this is talking about. So price elasticity is just talking about how does demand, so this is talking about how does quantity demanded. Yeah. How does this quantity demanded, how does it change when price of good is changing? You're comparing change in price and change in quantity demand. That is what elasticity is trying to explain. To say, do they change the same way? So is it going to be same way, same direction, or opposite direction? And how much would that change be? Is it small change? Is it big change? That is what elasticity is trying to explain. And that is why the formula for price elasticity of demand is equals to percentage change. I'm using this symbol for change, so I don't have to write it in full. Yeah, in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in the price. Yeah, that is price elasticity of demand. Yeah. So, but in terms of direction, you already know that if the price goes up, you expect the quantity demand to come down, because when the price is expensive, less people will be able to afford it, so the quantity demand will be cheap. But how do you calculate each of these? You need to know how to calculate it. So percentage change in quantity demanded is equals to the new quantity demanded minus the old quantity demanded divided by the old quantity demanded multiplied by 100. And likewise, percentage change in price is equals to the new price minus old price divided by the old price times 100. That is simple way of calculating price elasticity of demand. Let me give you a cool example. Let's say you have price 1, price 2. Yeah. Let's say, so this is price 10, 9. And quantity when it was 10 was 40, was 60. For this, let's calculate price elasticity of demand. So the first thing we need to calculate the price, we need to calculate the percentage of quantity demanded and percentage change in price. So quantity has changed from 40 to 60. So old price is 40, new price is 6. Sorry, new quantity is 60. So which means new quantity minus old quantity divided by old quantity times 100. And that's equals to 20 over 40 times 100. This is 1, this is 2, that's half of 100, and that is 50%. So percentage change in quantity is 50%. Yeah? And we can as well calculate the percentage change in price. So this is percentage change in demand, quantity demanded, then percentage change in price equals to the new price is 9, old price is 10, and divided by the old price times 100. And that's equals to 1 minus 1 over 9 times 100. And in percentage, what would that be? Let's see. 1 divided by 9 times 100. That equals to minus 11%. So price elasticity of demand will equals to 50% divided by 11%. Remember, it's always going to be negative. And that equals to minus 4.5. And the reason why it's always going to be negative is because the direction of demand and direction of price is opposite. Remember, I said it's inversely proportional. They will go in opposite direction all the time. Look at it here. They will always go in opposite direction. It's good to take notes. Right. So That's price elasticity of demand. And quickly, I will give you interpretation of what does it mean. All these figures, remember, these figures can be in different figures. It can be less than 1, it can be more than 1, it can be 0, it can be infinity. What does it mean? Remember, we said that price elasticity of demand is equals to percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. What does it mean? It means that you want to check by how much will the quantity change if price changes. So let's say price changes by just 2%. And just because of 2% change, the quantity demanded is changing by 50%. This is huge, because this will give you an answer of 25, right? Negative 25. When we're talking of these values and interpretations, please, we are looking at the figure only. Forget the sign. We all know the sign will always be negative, but focus on the figure. So here is 25. And I'm going somewhere, which is the interpretation. So if this figure had been less than 1, this is more than 1 because this is 25. So if price elasticity of demand is less than 1, what does it mean? It means that this is inelastic demand. Because for this to be less than 1, for PED to be less than 1, means that, take for instance, if price is changing by 2%, the quantity must be changing by less than 2%, maybe 1%. So the change can be 1%, but it must be less than 2%. That is when this answer will be less than 1. And in that case, it means that even when the price is changing by 2%, the quantity demand is not even responding as much as the change in price. So it's inelastic, it's unchanging. See elasticity as changes. That's the meaning of elasticity. Look at having a rubber in your hand. If it's elastic, you're able to pull it wide so it can change its length. So elasticity is a change itself. That's another way to understand the word elasticity. It's the same thing as expansion. It's the same thing as the word change. How much can it change? So if it's not changing that much, then it's inelastic, which means it's not changing. However, if it is 0, then you say it's even perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic means it's not even moving at all, which means this entirety is 0. It is not moving at all. It is not changing. So it means it's perfectly inelastic. Here is just inelastic, or you say it's relatively inelastic. It's the same thing you are saying. But when it is 0, then it's perfectly inelastic. It means it's not even changing. Yeah, that's one way. This is another way. The third interpretation you can have is when your price elasticity of demand is infinity. And when do you have infinity? When the smallest possible price change leads to a collapse in demand, as you will have in a perfect competition, right? Which means nobody even wants the price to change at all. So even at 0% or almost 0% here, yeah, anything divided by 0 is infinity. So if this is tending towards 0, which means almost no change, whereas this can just change by just a little minor, the lowest change in price, then that is called a perfectly elastic demand. Perfectly elastic. Because for a little change, the demand change on top of this will go spiral. so high. And sometimes that calculation can also give you 1. When it gives you 1, what it means is that you now have what we call the elastic unitary elastic demand, and which means the change in price is the same thing as change in demand. So if the percentage change in price is 2%, the percentage change in quantity demanded is also 2%. That's the only way you will have 1. So these are the 4 scenarios you can have, and you must know what it means. Yeah, just quickly, what are the things that can affect price elasticity of demand? The factors. Just the same way we have spoken about factors affecting demand and supply, we need to talk about factors affecting price elasticity of demand. And these factors are not far-fetched. There are things you can relate with, and the first one is the price of products. Price of products. Yeah. So you can't look at price of product in isolation, but always you look at it relative to household spend. And I'll explain this to you. What this means is, imagine in your house you spend $1,000 in a month to buy groceries. Yeah. And one of the things you normally buy as part of your groceries, let's say, is tissue paper. And tissue paper cost is just $1. You can see that this $1 is so small compared to your $1,000 you spend in a month. So if price of tissue paper decides to go up, do you think your demand for tissue paper will change? Not likely, because the price of this product we are talking about is small compared to the household spend. So even if they increase the price to $1.1, you will still buy. So, which means the change in price might not necessarily lead to huge change in quantity demand. And in that case, our numerator will be less than our denominator. So when the price has changed by, say, 5%, the quantity will not have changed by up to 5%, maybe not even change at all. If it does not change at all, it is 0 and it is perfectly inelastic. But if it changes but not as much as 5%, say 4%, then this will be less than 1, and that will be same inelastic, but just that you call it relative inelastic. Yeah. So the price of the product relative to the entire household spend is important to determine what your price elasticity will be. But imagine if the tissue paper is being sold for 700. It is being sold for 700, then it goes up by 750. It's huge for you. In that case, you might even stop buying the product and go and look for another product, and in that case becomes elastic because it's significant. Now the change is burning your pocket. You're going to shake and make changes. And when the change is so high, remember, it becomes very elastic. If the change is very low, it becomes inelastic. So that's a quick way to understand. Another factor is substitute. Substitute. Very important. Yeah. So if a good has a number of close substitutes, definitely the good will usually exhibit a very elastic nature. And how would that happen? If Coca-Cola, which I always like to use, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, because these are popular substitutes. The drinks are very alike. Yeah. So what would you expect to happen if Pepsi decides to increase their price? People will jump to Coca-Cola. If Coca-Cola decides to improve their price, people will jump to Pepsi. So you can see there will always be a change. So there will always be a change. And once there is that change, there is elasticity. So presence of substitutes, substitute availability does what? Increases elasticity. Yeah. Likewise, the price of products relative to household also will change elasticity. But if this is small, it reduces elasticity. If this is high, it increases elasticity, which is what I explained by using $1 and $700 example here. So take note. And availability of substitute increases elasticity as well. Now, another factor is the importance of good. How important is the good? Is it a necessity or nice to have? If it's a necessity, e.g., let's say it's a medication. If the price of your medication goes up, you have to buy it. So when we say change in quantity over change in price, if the price changes to 10%, you will still buy. So this might be 0 or less than, obviously going to be less than 10%, because maybe if you don't even want to buy as much, you will still buy. At least to the extent that you're not going to lose your life. But you are not going to stop buying and change drastically, huge difference. No, just going to be little movement. So this can be 0 change or very slow change. And in that case, the upper will be lower than the down here. So when in your mathematics, once you have a lower numerator, the outcome will always be less than 1, and that tends toward inelasticity, because it means that the change is not huge. It's a small change, not a significant change. So the importance makes goods to be very inelastic. So the higher the importance, the higher the inelasticity. But if it is not important, it's luxury good that is not important, that people just buy because it's nice to have. If the price goes so high that they cannot afford it, they will leave it. And the quantity demanded would drop significantly. And in that case, you have an elastic situation. Right. Very important. Those are good factors I've covered there. I think in the next video I will speak on price elasticity of supply. So that's where I will end it for price elasticity of demand.